Page 19, Village Dance. On page 18, they're talking about a chromatic scale. So let's talk scales and chromatic scales then. Make sure we understand what's going on. Remember, a scale is a set pattern of whole steps and half steps. Major scale, whole, half, whole, half. All major scales follow the same pattern. Okay. A chromatic scale is simply all half steps. Everything. You're using all the notes. Half. Whatever. This. Using them all. You can start and end on any note. It's kind of like a circle. It just starts and ends wherever. There's no real starting point. You can't say, do a chromatic scale in C major. There is no such thing. A chromatic scale is not in any key. It's just all the notes. Now, there are standard fingerings, for chromatic scales. Generally speaking, the third finger will play the black keys. Either one, whatever, the third finger. Okay. And either the thumb or the index finger will do the white keys. Thumb most of the time. So it's like thumb, three, thumb. But when you have two white keys together, then the index finger has to play one. That's where those come in. Otherwise, it's thumb, and third finger. Going down, it's the same thing. Wherever. Left hand, same thing here. That's one of the standard fingerings, and that's the one we work on first. I do not have any scale videos on a chromatic scale because that's it. I don't see any point in doing a whole video on that's it. Now, as far as the notes go in the written music, it looks a little ugly. Look at the bottom of the page. You got all these accidentals. Ugh. Okay, generally speaking, most of the time, when the passage is going up, they will use sharps to indicate it. So it'll be a C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp. That's how to go going up. But when it goes down, they'll use flats. C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat. Most of the time they'll do that. So you're going to notice sharps going up and flats coming down. You want to do contrary motion with it using the same fingers. And here you can even do black keys and white keys at the same time, depending on which notes you start on. If I start on a D, then it works out. Then a black key, third finger, thumb, white key here. See, I'm mirroring the hands. It works if you start on a D. If you start on some other note, it doesn't work. You got to know them or the fingers get off of it. So a D works well. An A flat works well. Because it's sort of, D is sort of in the middle. That's why it's symmetrical, it works out. And A flat's sort of in the middle, and that's symmetrical, it works out. Here. So if you want to do chromatic scales together, you can do contrary motion. If you want to do parallel motion, it's a little trickier because when you get to the white keys with no black key, it's different. Here, see a different note, or different fingers. These are different fingers. Otherwise, it's the same. Once you get used to this, then it's not so bad. So I don't actually practice chromatic scales per se because you'll get chromatic passages, that's a portion of the scale, chromatic scale, in pieces, but I just cover them in the pieces when I need them. And in village dance, we get a little bit of a chromatic passage. However, keep in mind that when we get chromatic passages in music, we might finger them different. We might not use this fingering that we're using now. Let's take a look at the village thingy and see what we got. I look it over, it's about a page long, not quite. Treble bass clef, no sharps or flats in the key signature. It is in the key of C major. Go ahead and be doing the scale for C major. 4/4 time signature. Let's take it one hand at a time. Right hand, at the end of the first line, you have a 2. Put you here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and then third. This way we have enough fingers for everything, and we're simply changing fingers on a repeated note. That's common. We do that a lot. That's good. Reach up. Third line. A flat. Again. Third finger. Fourth line. That's chromatic passage. 1 and 2 and 1. That's all that is. And in music, I might finger it that way. Or, because it's so short, I might just let each finger have a different note. I could just do it all. My hands are little enough, I could make that work. Depending on how fast the piece is, I might need to finger it that way. The point is, when I get a chromatic passage in music, I'm going to finger it however I need to for the music. But I can use the standard fingering for chromatic passages as my first choice to see if that works. And if it doesn't, then I got to change it. Sometimes it depends on what comes before and after it. Sometimes you can't start on a thumb on white key, or you can't use your finger on a black key. You got to use something else. It depends. You take it on a case-by-case basis in the music and whatever. Here we can use this fingering they're showing us. That's fine. That's fine. In the last line, you're down here. Now they want a second finger because that's the standard fingering. Here. But here, again, the music, you don't have to do that. I could use thumb because I'm not using a regular chromatic passage all the way up and down. It's just a little bit of one. And so I could start with thumb there if I wanted to. Nothing wrong with it. However, we'll stick with the fingering in the book and the second finger on the C. But I could use a thumb there if I wanted to because I'm a rebel. And then the last two measure, come down a little bit, D flat. That's all. It sounds weird, but it's supposed to. Something to do with the village, I guess. I'm not sure. Left hand, your broken chord. C chord. In the second line, third measure, it's here. If you don't fit up in here, then you do that. I don't know how big your hands are. And that's pretty much it for the left hand. So let's put them together. Let's start with the last beat. And the first line is here. And then go on to here. Third finger here. And you think that sounds terrible. Yeah, well, I agree, it does. But that's what they want. They want terrible. It adds tension to the music. It's not this. It's this. That's what they're after. That after that. And the fourth line down. So we put the hands together, and then I'll go back over it slowly and carefully and get rid of any hesitations. Then I can add the articulation. They don't really give us much on articulation. You get an accent toward the bottom. Play it a little louder. The left hand, I suggest you kind of let this bounce along. Just separate them. Not short. Just bounce along. And I can connect the right hand except for the repeated notes. Now again, they don't always show everything in the written music exactly as it needs to be. You have to let the music tell you what's going on. And the second line there, they're slurring the first two notes in the right hand. And they're not slurring the repeated notes. You can't connect repeated notes. However, the pickup to that, the last note in the first line, two ways of interpreting it. I can separate that note, or I can connect it. So if I connect it, it's connecting it. If I separate it, see? But if I'm going to separate it on the first one, I'm going to separate the pickup beat on all the others. Play them all the same. I am going to connect it because I like the connection sound better. I'm going to connect it. So I'm going to connect them is how I'm going to do it. It's interpretation. It's up to the player. How do you think it should be interpreted? If the composer or editor really wanted it a certain way, they could have drawn the curved line over the whole thing there. They could have drawn a curved line over all of those notes, but they didn't. So, okay. And then after the articulation, I have the dynamics. Starts out soft. They gradually go up. The right hand, when it comes in, it's going to be loud. So the left hand's only going to go up to about moderately loud. Here, soft, louder. Now moderately loud, and it's loud. The next to the bottom line where the chromatic is. Start up moderately loud, go up to loud and back down. Swell. You see the hairpins. Where you look between them. And the note or notes that are there, that's your target. In this case, it's the G sharp. That, we're going to go up to that and then back down. Yeah. Left hand's just in the background. And then again, the accented note will make that one note very loud because we're going from moderately loud up to loud. In the last line, they don't say anything, but come back down to moderately loud again and do it again. They should have given you a moderately loud at the last line, just to be safe. Yeah. Sometimes they don't always give you all the dynamics you need. You got to let the music tell you, what does it need? What does it want to do? So it's at the end of next to the last line when you get loud. I'm not going to stay there for the last line. That makes the last line way too loud. So I'm going to come back down and do the whole thing again. I'm going to do the last line similar to the way I did the next to the last line in dynamics. And then the speed. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. However, how fast can you do this? Accurately. Can you even and control in the whole bit? That'll be your allegro. Huh. If you can't go that fast, it's okay. This, if that's as fast as you can go, great, go there. It needs to be accurate, so it's up to you and what you can do accurately. Don't go beyond that. And it all needs to be at the same speed. So don't take the first part get down to the last line and go and slow it down. No, the whole thing's got to be at one speed. Now, once you can play this slowly with no hesitations, let's play it together to check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do the louds and softs. We're not performing it. We're just checking notes and rhythms. But I will do the repeat because the whole thing is done twice, and I'll give us 4 counts. 1, 2, ready, go.